On the first day out of prison after serving 3 years for my younger brother, the first phone call I received was hung up by my own father. I didn't have time to feel sad. When I got home, I heard my sister-in-law's words through the door, "Make him go rent a place. I'm not living with someone who's been in prison." I stood outside the door, my hands suspended in midair, my fingertips trembling violently. 3 years, I had done 3 years for my brother, and I couldn't even get back a single bedroom. I took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened. My mother's eyes flickered. She reached out and patted my shoulder, saying, "Your dad just left to pick you up." Her fake act made my stomach churn. I stepped inside, and my sister-in-law Xiao Lin immediately grabbed a bottle of disinfectant and sprayed it all over me. "Don't overthink it, just getting rid of bad luck." I twitched the corner of my mouth, said nothing, and headed straight upstairs. But before I could take 2 steps, my father grabbed my arm and jabbed a finger at my nose like a cigarette holder. "There's no place for you in this house." The ashtray by the sofa was already full of cigarette butts. Clearly they had been discussing this for a long time before I arrived. "Dad, I just served 3 years, I didn't die. Don't I even deserve a room?" "Your brother won't agree." Just then, my younger brother Sheng Tang came out of the bathroom and looked at me with an embarrassed face. "Bro, the house is short on rooms, it's really inconvenient." Looking at that face that had followed me around calling bro since childhood, my heart turned completely cold. Wasn't the house big enough before? I'd been gone 3 years, why isn't it enough now? I paid for this house in full. The moment I finished speaking, a slap landed across my face. "You bought the house? Are you coming back to collect a debt or to be part of this family?" Father's face twisted as he hurled each word at me. "I'm telling you, there's no room for you here. If you want to rent, rent it yourself. What do we owe you?" I stood frozen, trembling all over. What do they owe me? Who knelt down and begged me to take the blame for my brother? Who said I was the family's greatest hero? All I wanted was my own room back. Was that really so hard? I closed my eyes and forced back my tears. "Bro, these 3 years haven't been easy for us either. If you come back to live here now, what will people think of us?" I abruptly shook off his hand and pointed straight at his nose. "Sheng Tang, don't forget, the one who should have gone to prison is you. The one who shamed the family is you. The one who enjoyed all the benefits I took for you and also stole my house is you." His face instantly turned green. "I already thanked you, what more do you want? I'm your older brother. Isn't it natural for me to shoulder things for you?" My parents also chimed in, calling me petty and unreasonable, saying renting was perfectly normal. Every word was like a knife stabbing into my heart. I looked up at the ceiling and let out a bitter laugh. No wonder none of you visited me once in 3 years. In my eyes you were family, in your eyes I was just a shameful decoration. Fine. From today on, I'm done with all of you. I slammed the door and walked away without looking back. I wandered aimlessly on the streets for a long time, and finally checked into a hotel. I spent a large sum to hire a lawyer and asked if I could get the house back. The lawyer said that as long as I could prove I was the actual buyer, purchase contract, payment receipts, property certificates, etc., we had a strong case. The habit I developed over the years was to keep evidence of everything, and I had all those documents safely stored. I handed all the materials to the lawyer for full handling, then lay on the bed, staring blankly at the 9-figure balance in my mobile banking app. I was going to make this family regret every decision they made today. The next day, I went straight to the sales office of a villa development. It happened to be a promotional event, so I gritted my teeth and used 100 million in cash to buy 10 fully furnished villas in one go. One for myself, and the other 9 for rental income. Just the rent from those 9 units alone would give me more than enough to squander each month. A month later, my father called, his voice almost cracking. "Shang Lin, are you crazy? You're suing us?" I replied calmly, "You taught me well, I'm just learning from you. I'm giving up that house not because I have to, but because I don't want a bunch of ungrateful wolves living in it." With that, I hung up. Not long after, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a stunningly beautiful girl standing there, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "Hi, landlord. I'm Su Wanwan, the tenant of Villa No. 2. I vaguely remembered her. She was the first person to rent one of my villas, and she had handled the paperwork very smoothly. "Can I help you?" Her ears turned a little red, and she blinked at me. "I'm having a housewarming party tonight. I'd like to invite the super-rich landlord who bought 10 villas at once to drop by. Can you come?" I was taken aback. Seeing me hesitate, she quickly tugged at my sleeve, her voice soft. "Landlord, please, just do me a favor, okay?" She put her hands together, tilted her head, and looked at me in a way that made it impossible to refuse. I sighed. "All right, I'll come." Her eyes lit up, and she skipped away happily. At 7 in the evening, I arrived at Su Wanwan's villa on time. Just as I was about to step inside, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Shang Lin, you actually followed us here." I turned around and saw my younger brother Shang Tang and sister-in-law Xiao Lin standing there. Shang Tang's face darkened the moment he saw me, his eyes full of disgust. Su Wanwan walked over, looked at me, then at them, confused. "You know each other?" Xiao Lin immediately spoke up, her tone dripping with contempt. "Wanwan, this man is my husband's ex-convict brother. He's been lazy all day and only thinks about how to steal our house." As soon as she finished, all eyes turned to me with contempt, curiosity, and mockery. Looking at her twisting the truth, I spoke coldly. "First, I'm not stalking you. Second, I went to prison in your husband's place. Third, you're living in my house and calling me filth. Who's the shameless one here?" With each sentence, the expressions around me shifted. Xiao Lin's face changed, but she still insisted. "Shang Lin, stop pretending. That house is clearly Shang Tang's. The lawyer's letter has already been sent home. See you in court." "Bro, I know you just got out and have nowhere to go, but that room is for our baby. We're family, why make it so ugly?" I looked at him and found it more and more laughable. "When you kicked me out, where was family? When she humiliated me in public, where was family?" Xiao Lin, seeing everyone watching, grew even bolder. "This villa belongs to the super-rich landlord. If you cause trouble here, aren't you afraid of getting into trouble?" She raised her voice, acting like the mistress of the house, as if it were hers. People around started pointing and sneering at me. Just then, Su Wanwan stepped in front of me, frowning. "Xiao Lin, is there some misunderstanding?" "Misunderstanding?" Xiao Lin rolled her eyes. "Shang Lin, I advise you to get out now. The super-rich landlord will be here any minute. Don't bring trouble on yourself." The crowd echoed her and continued to insult me. Su Wanwan had had enough. She turned sharply, her voice clear but firm. "Xiao Lin, shut up. Mr. Shang Lin is my honored guest. You have no right to speak to him like that. If you don't welcome him, then please leave. Don't wait for security." Xiao Lin shoved Su Wanwan aside and raised her chin. "Who do you think you are to tell us to leave? Wanwan, are you being scammed? Be careful you're not stuck with a penniless loser." Su Wanwan's chest heaved with anger as she stared at them and said word by word. "The one who should leave is me? Shang Lin is the super-rich landlord you're talking about. He bought 10 villas in cash with his own money." The whole place fell silent. Xiao Lin's sneer froze on her face, her eyes wide open. She could never connect this man in a cheap suit, just out of prison, with the billionaire who bought 10 villas for 100 million. "Wanwan, you're joking, right? How could he? He doesn't even have a place to live, he's a nobody." Shang Tang stood aside, pale as paper, his hand holding Xiao Lin dropping limply. I didn't even look at him. The cold indifference I showed him made him tremble. "Bro, what's going on? Where did you get all that money?" I ignored him and just stood quietly, feeling the gazes around me shift from contempt to awe, curiosity, and embarrassment. The social status that money brings became tangible in that moment, suffocatingly real. Looking at the relatives I had once protected with my life, I felt no satisfaction from revenge, only endless sorrow. Su Wanwan sensed the atmosphere. She didn't retreat, instead, she stepped forward again, standing right beside me. It was a small gesture, but it proclaimed her stance to everyone. "Shang Tang, Xiao Lin, the contract was signed personally by Mr. Shang and me. Since you disrespect my guest, please leave immediately. Don't make me call security." Xiao Lin opened her mouth, ready to throw a tantrum, but when she met Su Wanwan's icy gaze and the surrounding whispers, her last shred of courage vanished. She clutched the luxury bag bought with my money, now the most ironic accessory. Shang Tang hung his head, not daring to look at me, and dragged the dazed Xiao Lin away under everyone's stares, slinking off in disgrace. The gates slowly closed, locking those two greedy souls outside in the darkness. The party music started again, but everyone looked at me differently. I knew this was only the beginning. The stolen house, the trampled dignity, I would take it all back, piece by piece. After being evicted from the villa, Xiao Lin and Shang Tang showed no remorse. They hid in their shabby rental, staring at their phones with clenched teeth. Xiao Lin scrolled through Su Wanwan's social media posts, her face twisted with envy. Why does that prison scum get to live in a villa? That money must be dirty, maybe he did something shady in jail. And he hired a lawyer, we might lose that apartment. Lose it? If I can't have it, neither will he. He cares about his reputation, right? I'll destroy him and see if he dares to stay in that villa district. Xiaolin's fingers flew across the screen, typing a fabricated story full of lies. In her version, I became a deranged ex-convict who not only tried to steal my parents' retirement home but also threatened my brother's family with violence. Within hours, a post titled "Finding Lost Conscience, Paroled Elder Brother Drives Family to Despair" went viral on local forums. Netizens, unaware of the truth, left vicious comments, every word chilling my blood. I sat in my spacious study, flipping through property documents from the lawyer, when my phone suddenly buzzed frantically. It was all unknown numbers calling to curse me. I hung up one by one. Private messages kept popping up, and I curled my lips into a cold smile. This kind of low-level cyberbullying was nothing compared to the 3 years I'd spent in prison. Su Wanwan rushed in with her tablet, looking even worse than last night. "Shang, look at this. Xiao Lin is live-streaming their sob story. And now everyone's attacking you, some are even doxing your address. Let them be. Apart from these dirty tricks, they have nothing else." On the screen, Xiao Lin wiped her tears, while Shang Tang sighed beside her, playing the pitiful victim. The barrage of comments was relentless, all insults against me, some even calling for a confrontation in person. Xiao Lin sobbed, "Dear viewers, you don't know how hard we've worked to keep this home for 3 years. Now he comes back and wants to throw us out. We have a baby, how can he be so cruel? Shang, you have to clarify this, or your reputation will be ruined and your neighbors will judge you." "Not yet. Let them jump high, the higher they jump, the harder they fall." The online hate didn't affect me, I remained unusually calm. I called my lawyer, my tone steady but commanding. "Mr. Zhang, have you collected all the online evidence, including the defamatory accounts?" "Don't worry, Mr. Shang. All defamatory statements and infringement evidence have been notarized. With your order, they'll not only pay compensation but also face criminal liability." Watching that hypocritical face on the screen, my last shred of hope for family affection evaporated completely. "Since you choose to burn all bridges this way, I'll give you a gift." I turned off the tablet, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, and looked out at the calm lake. The online storm continued, but in my eyes, it was only the prelude to their own grave. The public opinion spread like a plague, even alarming the neighbors strolling in the villa area. They gathered in small groups near my house, pointing and staring with scrutiny and doubt. Just then, my father showed up with Shang Tang, holding a broken loudspeaker, clearly determined to make a scene. "Shang Lin, come out here. You ungrateful wretch living in a big house while your father has to rent? Where's your conscience?" My mother sat down on the ground and slapped her thighs, wailing, "Everyone, come and see. My eldest son gets out of prison and turns against his own family, abandons his mother, and even sues us. Is there no justice in this world?" I pushed the door open and stood on the steps, watching this farce below. The neighbors' murmurs grew louder, but my heart was surprisingly calm. "Mom, Dad, I gave you a chance. I bought that apartment in full, I never said you couldn't live there. You were the ones who kicked me out first. The house is in my name. It's mine. Now that you're rich, can't you buy us a bigger house? You still owe your brother an apology." I watched Shang Tang hide behind his mother, filming with his phone, obviously planning to post it online for sympathy. "Got it all on video? The more evidence, the faster the judge will rule." Shang Tang's hand trembled, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, but he quickly raised his chin and kept performing for the camera. My parents made a scene for a while, but eventually the property security escorted them away. The house fell quiet again. I sat on the sofa, staring at the flood of insults on my phone, mentally reviewing the details my lawyer had told me. Su Wanwan knocked and came in, carrying a steaming bowl of noodles. Her eyes were full of worry, as if afraid the rumors would crush me. "Shang, have something to eat first. Don't mind the nasty talk, the truth will come out." "Thank you, Wanwan." I took the bowl and smiled. I'm not that fragile. I lowered my head and ate, the steam warming my eyes. During those 3 years in prison, I learned to endure and also to be ruthless. But Su Wanwan's presence quietly cracked a frozen spot in my heart. After that night, things calmed down for a few days. I thought it was over until that morning, when the property manager called to say someone was causing trouble at the gate again. When I arrived, I found Xiao Lin, along with her parents and a group of influencers, blocking the villa entrance. They had set up cameras everywhere, not wanting to miss any moment that could grab attention. My mother sat at the main gate, slapping her thighs and crying at the top of her lungs. "Everyone, judge for me. My eldest son got out of prison and changed his heart. He's kicking his own parents out and stealing his brother's property. He's trying to drive us old folks to death." The reporters swarmed like sharks smelling blood, pushing microphones almost into my mother's face. Xiaolin played the delicate victim on the side, occasionally handing tissues, but her eyes kept darting toward the villa. I pushed open the gate and walked out, the sunlight blinding me. The moment they saw me, the crowd erupted. A flood of insults and accusations washed over me. "Shang Lin, you finally dare to come out? You heartless beast. In front of all these reporters, do you dare to show us the property deed?" Shang Tung hid behind the crowd, not daring to look at me. Watching these so-called family members perform their victim act for the cameras, I felt nothing but nausea. I will show the property deed, but not now. I also want to ask the journalists here to bear witness. When the truth comes out, we'll see who is really lying. The atmosphere suddenly turned eerily quiet. My mother's crying stopped abruptly. She stared at me with wide eyes, a trace of panic flickering across her face. Facing Xiaolin's screams and the reporter's lenses, I didn't rush to defend myself. Instead, I reached into the inner pocket of my suit and pulled out a neatly stacked pile of copies. Those documents looked especially glaring in the sunlight. They were the purchase records from 3 years ago, bank statements and transfer receipts. I casually handed the copies to the nearest reporter. The moment he saw the amount and the payer's name, his expression changed from excitement to shock. The other reporters crowded around to see, camera shutters clicking non-stop. I had paid the full amount in 3 installments 3 years ago, totaling 4.2 million yuan. Every payment had been transferred from my personal account. My mother, who had been writhing on the ground just moments ago, suddenly stopped crying. She stared blankly at those documents, then turned to Shang Tang for support. Shang Tang's face was ashen. He instinctively shrank back into the crowd. "So what?" Xiaolin forced herself to say. "The property deed has mom and dad's names on it. That was your filial gift to them. You can't take it back now." The reporters began whispering among themselves, and the public opinion seemed to shift subtly. Watching Xiaolin put on a brave front, I found it utterly ridiculous. She thought the law only looked at whose name was on the deed, not knowing that a complete chain of evidence would shatter her schemes. "Songyu, Mr. Zhang, please tell this lady," I said, "what is the legal difference between nominee holding and illegal appropriation?" Beside me, Lawyer Zhang pushed up his glasses and opened his folder. His professional and imposing demeanor silenced the noisy scene instantly. The standoff continued outside, but I had already turned and walked back into the living room. Su Wanwan handed me a glass of warm water, her hands still trembling slightly. She was clearly frightened by the frenzy of that crowd. "Shang, they're not leaving. It seems Xiaolin is calling for backup on the phone." I picked up my phone and opened the private message from Shang Tang. The commotion outside had finally made my brother, who always hid behind women, unable to sit still. His message was full of groveling pleas and deep fear. "Bro, please, take those bank records back, okay? If the company finds out I stole your house, my entire life will be ruined." I listened to the voice message and didn't reply. People like Shang Tang only remember I'm their brother when their own interests are at stake. I turned off the phone and looked out the window. My parents were still playing the victims in front of the cameras. For their younger son's future, they had unhesitatingly sacrificed their elder son's 3 years of freedom. Now, for their younger son's house, they were joining forces to nail their elder son to the pillar of shame. To them, family affection was nothing more than a readily cashable chip. Outside, Xiaolin seemed to receive another call, and her face suddenly turned pale. She stared at the villa's second floor in terror, her phone nearly slipping from her hand. I knew Lawyer Zhang's second wave of legal letters had already reached her phone. The mastermind behind this cyberbullying was finally beginning to feel the cold weight of the law. Just as Xiaolin was about to launch another round of accusations, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly pulled up at the edge of the crowd. The car's appearance instantly silenced the noisy scene. Even the most impulsive social media bloggers instinctively lowered their stabilizers. The door opened, and a young man in a tailored suit stepped out, exuding an air of authority. Ignoring the shocked stares, he walked straight up the steps to me. Under everyone's incredulous eyes, he gave me a hug. "Shang, I heard you ran into trouble after getting out. Is there anything I can help with?" "Mr. Lin, it's just family matters, no need for you to come in person." This young man was the only son of the Lin family, Lin Chang. 3 years ago in prison, I had saved his life. His appearance was like an invisible slap to every loudmouth present. Mr. Lin? Impossible, Sheng is an ex-convict. How could he know you? Ex-convict? Lin Chang sneered. Mr. Shang went to prison to take the blame for someone else, for cowards who didn't have the guts to take responsibility. I've already had the case files from the car accident 3 years ago retrieved. The truth will come out soon. At the word truth, Shang Tang, who had been hiding in the crowd, went weak in the knees and collapsed to the ground. His worst fear had finally come true. The intervention of the Lin family heir meant that the lies he had carefully woven for 3 years were about to be torn apart. After dawn, the reporters quickly shifted their focus. They no longer asked why I had kicked my parents out, but instead dug madly into the suspicions surrounding the car accident 3 years ago. The storm center immediately turned to Shang Tang. In the living room, Lin Chang's top legal team took over all public relations work. Su Wanwan busied herself with serving tea and water. Seeing this sudden powerful backup, her worry finally dissipated, replaced by undisguised admiration. Shang, you were too foolish back then. It wasn't worth it for people like that. I used to think family was everything. Now that I see through it, I actually feel lighter. Just then, my phone rang. It was my father calling. This time, there was no arrogance or cursing, only a humble, tearful plea. Xiaolin, please, ask the Lin family heir to drop the case. If Shang Tang gets arrested, our whole family is finished. He's your own brother, you can't just watch and be destroyed. Dad, I did 3 years for him. We're even. He'll have to walk his own path from now on. I hung up and blocked the number. Outside the window, Shang Tang was surrounded by reporters. His once triumphant face was now filled with despair. Watching the farce outside, I was already planning my next move. Taking back the apartment was only the beginning. I wanted them to understand that the dignity and family ties they had trampled were never chips they could squander at will. Lin Cheng's involvement was like a depth charge that shattered the last shred of the Shang family's dignity. When news spread that Shang Tang had been taken in for investigation, my parents' dream of profiting from online outrage completely collapsed. This time, they didn't bring reporters or loudspeakers. They came like two soulless puppets, supporting each other, appearing at the door of my study. Father's hand, which used to point at me and curse, was now trembling violently. His voice was hoarse, almost begging. Xiaolin, please, I'm begging you. In front of the Lin family heir, just say one word. Then the whole matter will be wiped clean. Your brother has a child, you know that. He can't go to prison. Looking at my father's newly deepened wrinkles, I felt no pity. The past few days had extinguished the last warmth in my heart. Suddenly my mother knelt on the ground, sobbing heart-wrenchingly. Xiaolin, mother will give you anything, just let your brother go. We won't live in that apartment anymore. We'll move out, go back to the countryside, would that be okay? That apartment was always mine. As for Shang Tang, the law will give him a fairer judgment than I ever could. My mother's cries sounded especially harsh in the quiet study. I closed my eyes. I remembered the person I was before prison, full of passion and drive. Back then I thought protecting my family was my duty. I never knew that obsession would eventually become the shackle that locked me away for 3 years. After Shang Tang was taken away, Xiaolin completely tore off her hypocritical mask. She knew the game was over. She actually planned to liquidate and take away everything valuable in the house before the court's enforcement. The sofa was slashed open, half of the expensive chandelier was dismantled. Decorative paintings were violently ripped from the walls. She scurried around like a frantic hyena, trying to grab one last bite before losing her territory. Sell those old furniture pieces for whatever you can get, take anything movable. And that refrigerator, it must be gone this afternoon. While she was busy moving things, Lawyer Zhang arrived at the door with court officers. Seeing the chaos, Lawyer Zhang frowned. Ms. Xia, according to the court's preservation order, all fixed decorations and attached facilities of this property are within the scope of preservation. Your current actions constitute intentional damage to property. Xiaolin rushed over like a madwoman, waving a pair of scissors. Get out! This is my husband's house. Why should that ex-con Shang Lin take it? I'd rather destroy it than leave him a single brick or tile. The officers quickly subdued her. Xiaolin collapsed onto the dusty floor, staring at the items she hadn't managed to remove, letting out a desperate scream. I stood in the shadows downstairs, watching all the once familiar items being sealed one by one. This had been the home I worked so hard to buy, carrying all my fantasies of the future. But watching Xiaolin destroy it with her own hands, I felt an unprecedented sense of release instead. If some things don't break completely, new life can never begin. The court seal was pasted on the door. Xiaolin was taken away for investigation on suspicion of intentional property damage. The once noisy corridor was now dead silent. Only my elderly parents remained, slumped on the cold steps like lost souls. I looked at the security door I had chosen myself, my hand resting on the handle, hesitating for a long time. In the end, I turned away. This home had long been dead. It died the moment I walked into prison for my brother. I walked out of the old house, the sunlight making me squint. My phone rang, it was Su Wanwan. "Shang, are you okay?" "I'm fine," I smiled. "Just saying goodbye to a place I shouldn't return to." "It's good you're back," her voice was gentle. "Nyener has been waiting for you." Mentioning Nyener touched a soft place in my heart. That child was Shangtang and Xiaolin's biological child. Xiaolin had given birth to Nyener in the detention hospital, with the father's name left blank on the birth certificate. I had heard the news while in prison and made a decision that changed my life. I adopted that child. Su Wanwan was waiting for me at the entrance with the sleeping Nyener in her arms. The warm light fell on both of them, that was the family I wanted to protect. Since Xiaolin gave birth to Nyener in the detention hospital, due to the interrogations and immense mental stress, she had developed a severe chronic illness. That woman who once only cared about jewelry and finery now lay weakly on a hospital bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her hair was dry and yellow, her cheeks sunken. Due to long-term deficiency, even getting up for a sip of water was extremely difficult. The guards took care of her according to regulations, but that cold institutional feeling magnified her loneliness tenfold. "Wait, where's my child? Where did my mother send him?" The nurse beside her didn't answer, just routinely changed her drip. Xiaolin didn't know that her profit-driven mother had already thrown the child away like a burden. Nor did she know that the brother she once called an ex-convict was now the only one who could save her child. A stream of turbid tears slid down Xiaolin's cheek. Her tone was full of venom. "Shang Lin, are you laughing at me now? Are you happy to see me fall this low?" Her regret was not because she had hurt others, but because she had lost the lavish life she once enjoyed. Tormented by this twisted mentality, her condition worsened repeatedly. The doctors said this condition might accompany her for life. Sunlight streamed through the iron bars, casting dappled shadows on the floor. Xiaolin closed her eyes. In her mind flashed the days she had squandered in my luxury apartment. But those days were ultimately a dream she could never return to. When my parents learned that I had adopted Nyener, they finally saw the situation clearly. They knew they could no longer count on Shangtang and Xiaolin. If they completely offended me this time, they would have to beg on the streets for the rest of their lives. So when news of Xiaolin's illness came, they didn't dare to call reporters to make a scene as before. Instead, they put on a different face. My father sat hunched on the edge of the sofa, nervously rubbing his hands. My mother sat beside him, wiping tears constantly and glancing at me for approval. They were like two children who had done wrong, humble to the dust. "Xiaolin, Dad knows we were foolish before and hurt you. Now your brother is in prison, Xiaolin is chronically ill, our family truly has only you to rely on." "Yes, Xiaolin," my mother interjected, "Mom regrets every day how we treated you. Xiaolin's treatment costs a lot of money. We were thinking, for Nyener's sake, could you help her?" I put down the report in my hand and looked at them coldly. This belated humility gave me no satisfaction. It only made me feel more ironic. If I were still that penniless ex-convict, would they be speaking to me in this humble tone? "Are you afraid I won't give you pension, or do you really feel sorry for Xiaolin?" My father's cheek twitched, exposed, he showed a flicker of embarrassment. But he quickly forced another smile. "How can you think that? You're my own son. Of course I want the family to be well. If Xiaolin's illness isn't cured, how will you explain it to Nyener when he grows up?" Just then, Su Wanwan came downstairs carrying Nyener. Nyener instinctively shrank into Su Wanwan's arms at the sight of the scene. "Shang, Nyener needs his nap." As for Xiaolin's medical bills, the lawyer said that if we follow legal procedures, we only need to bear a small portion. My mother panicked at the words legal procedures. But she didn't dare raise her voice, only looked at me pleadingly. Her eyes were filled with calculating anxiety. She lowered her voice, Shaolin, don't listen to the lawyer, he's an outsider. We are your birth parents. Just do a good deed and help Xiaolin, please. Mom, watching them bow their heads to survive, the last bit of warmth in my heart slowly died out. They hadn't become better, they had only become weaker. I wondered how this act of atonement was supposed to play out. Before I could figure out how to deal with Xiaolin, I received news. Because of prolonged psychological distortion and recurrent chronic illness, Xiaolin died alone on a cold night in the prison hospital. She never saw that child again, nor did she wait for Shang Tang's release. Not long after, Shang Tang was released from prison. For years behind bars had completely destroyed his self-esteem, but also nurtured the inherent violence within him. When he walked out of the prison gate, his two gray-haired parents were already waiting for him. They showed no remorse for Shang Tang's crimes. Instead, they sold the last of their family assets in the hometown to support their most beloved younger son. But Shang Tang was no longer the polite honor student they remembered. Shang Tang kicked the luggage bag his parents handed him, his eyes cold and fierce. Only this little money? You've been living it up outside all these years while I stayed in this dump? Xiao Tang, Mom and Dad have no ability. All the money went to your treatment and Lin's medical expenses and connections. Let's settle down first. Tomorrow I'll find work at a construction site. Mom will work as a maid. We'll definitely be able to support you. Shang Tang sneered. Watching his parents' hunched backs, he felt no gratitude, only a sense of entitlement. In prison he had learned to bully the weak, and now the easiest people to bully in the world were his own parents. Hurry up. And don't mention that Shang Lin in front of me. Once I get back on my feet, I'll make him spit out everything he owes me. My parents exchanged a look and silently followed behind. They thought they had found someone to rely on again. But they didn't know that the person they brought back was an insatiable abyss. Not long after Shang Tang was diagnosed with a terminal illness, the physical pain made him even crazier. Every day he lay in bed, cursing and hitting his parents when they came back from work. He would scream at the slightest dissatisfaction. This medicine is so bitter, are you trying to poison me to save money? Get out and earn money. I want meat. I want alcohol. Xiao Tang, Mom worked 12 hours today. I really have no money left. Then what about your brother? Don't mention him, he's blocked us long ago. This is our own fate. We brought it on ourselves. Compared to that hellish life, my days were entering an unprecedented period of happiness. After recovering all my property, I handed the company over to a professional management team and devoted more energy to my family. Su Wanwan and I got married on a sunny, breezy day. One day, Niena ran over, holding up a perfect test paper. Mommy Wanwan said today we're going to the zoo. Hurry, hurry. Daddy, Mommy Wanwan. Look, I got first place. Wanwan gently wiped the sweat from Niener's forehead and looked at me expectantly. Shang, how about taking Niener to the seaside tomorrow? He needs to relax. I took the test paper and lifted Niener up. My eyes were full of happiness and affection. Sure, whatever you say. As long as we're together as a family, anywhere is fine. Sometimes I would still hear news of that family from the lawyer. I heard Shang Tang howled in pain from his illness. I heard his parents were full of regret from constant exhaustion. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Sunlight spilled over the villa's lawn, and Niener's laughter was clear and cheerful. I held Su Wanwan's hand, feeling the warmth in my palm. Only those who have experienced darkness know how to cherish the light before them. Life is still long, and our happiness has only just begun.